You grew up walking into Red Lobster on a Friday night, trusting it would always be there. Everyone tells you the shrimp killed it. That's the story going around, and it's wrong. What actually happened is something nobody wants you to find out, because the people who did it are still walking around free. By the end of this video, you'll know who emptied this company out and why your favorite restaurant never had a shot. In 1968, a guy named Bill Darden opens a small seafood restaurant in Lakeland, Florida. Not even on the coast, just an inland town. And he's betting people who've never had real lobster will want it. You know what happens next. People go crazy for it. By 1970, General Mills buys the company, and Red Lobster spreads across the country. Strip malls, highway exits, every town you can think of, for millions of Americans. This becomes the place birthdays, anniversaries, the one fancy dinner the family could actually afford. Did you ever get dressed up a little extra for a Red Lobster dinner growing up? Like it was actually a big deal? For decades, Red Lobster isn't just a restaurant, it's a memory. The smell of those cheddar biscuits hitting the table before you even order is burned into your brain whether you like it or not. By the 2010s, Red Lobster runs over 700 locations and pulls in billions a year, the biggest seafood chain on the planet. But in 2014, something happens behind closed doors, a decision made by people you've never heard of, and that's where the real ending begins. We'll get there. In 2014, Red Lobster is owned by Darden Restaurants, and on paper, everything looks fine. Hundreds of locations, steady revenue, a brand that's basically part of American culture. Walk into one of these restaurants in 2014, and nothing looks wrong. Same biscuits, same lobster tank by the door, same waiters asking if you want the ultimate feast. But Darden's investors are getting restless. They think Red Lobster is dragging down the rest of the company and want it gone. So Darden puts it up for sale, and a private equity firm called Golden Gate Capital steps in with $2.1 billion. Honestly, if you owned hundreds of restaurant buildings outright, debt-free, what would you do with them? Here's the thing about Red Lobster in 2014. This company didn't just run restaurants, it owned the land and buildings under about 500 of them. That real estate alone was worth over $1 billion. Golden Gate looks at that $2.1 billion price tag and realizes something. They don't need $2.1 billion of their own money. Sitting right there, under all those restaurants, is $1 billion asset they can sell off immediately. One decision made in 2014 turned Red Lobster from a healthy company into a ticking time bomb. Almost nobody outside Wall Street ever heard about it. This was mistake number one, the one that set everything else in motion. In July 2014, Golden Gate sells the real estate under about 500 Red Lobster locations for $1.5 billion to a company called American Realty Capital Properties. Just like that, Golden Gate recoups more than 2/3 of their $2.1 billion purchase price almost overnight. But here's the catch. Red Lobster doesn't own those buildings anymore. Now it has to pay rent every month on every one of those locations to a new landlord. Read that again. The company that used to own its restaurants outright is now renting them back from someone else. This is called a sale leaseback, and it's a classic private equity move. Sell the assets, pocket the cash, leave the company holding a bill it never had before. Can you think of any business today, maybe one you work for or one you love, that's quietly being set up the exact same way? If this is hitting different for you right now, go ahead and subscribe. We cover the brands the business world wants you to forget. By the time this deal is done, Red Lobster is locked into paying around $190 to $200 million a year in rent. Every year forever, not a one-time hit, a permanent leak in the boat. And that leak is about to meet two more mistakes that finish the job. Mistake number 2. In 2016, Golden Gate sells off a chunk of Red Lobster to Thai Union, a massive seafood supplier based in Thailand by 2020. Thai Union becomes the majority owner of Red Lobster entirely. Here's why that's a problem. Thai Union isn't just an investor. They're also one of Red Lobster's biggest shrimp suppliers. So now the company that owns Red Lobster is also the company selling its shrimp. You don't need an MBA to see the conflict here. Mistake number 3 is the one that finally breaks everything into the open in 2023. Red Lobster's leadership rolls out the ultimate endless shrimp deal as a permanent menu item. All the shrimp you can eat for $20. Be honest. If endless shrimp for $20 was on the menu near you, were you showing up? Americans show up in huge numbers, almost too many. The deal loses the company over $11 million in a single quarter. And here's the part that should make you angry. According to the company's own bankruptcy filing, The former CEO reportedly pushed this deal through despite pushback from his own management team, while Red Lobster was buying even more shrimp from Thai Union, its own majority owner, right before the promotion launched. So you've got a company already drowning in $200 million of annual rent from a real estate deal nobody told you about. Add a promotion that bleeds another $11 million. Add a majority owner who profits either way because they're also your supplier. By May 2024, Red Lobster files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The chain that once had over 700 locations is now down to around 545 real people. Servers, cooks, managers who'd worked there for years lose their jobs almost overnight in towns where Red Lobster was one of the only sit-down restaurants left. The shrimp made headlines, but the shrimp didn't do this. The rent did. Here's the thing about this whole story. Red Lobster wasn't killed by a bad menu decision. It was killed 9 years earlier, the moment somebody decided the buildings were worth more sold off than owned. How would you feel if you found out the place that gave you some of your best childhood memories went under because of a decision made in a boardroom you'll never see? This isn't just a Red Lobster story. It's what happens when a company's most valuable asset stops being its food, its people, or its customers, and starts being a number on a spreadsheet someone else can cash out. You probably remember when Red Lobster felt permanent, like it would just always be on that corner, year after year. That feeling is gone now. Not because people stopped loving the biscuits, because somebody decided the building was worth more than the business. If this story made you look at your favorite local spots a little differently, that's the point. Hit like, subscribe if you're new, because we're not done uncovering who's quietly gutting the brands you grew up with. And if you want to see what happens when the person running the company is the one eating it from the inside, the Fat Brand story is right there on your screen.